Hello, and welcome to Join the Joy Revolution. I'm Maggie Reagan, Senior Editor for Books for Youth at Booklist. Before we begin, we'll just go over a few technical details. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and any questions we do not get to during our Q&A, we will pass along to our panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Our panelists today are actively seeking questions from the audience during their discussion. And so at any time during today's webinar, if you have a question for one of our speakers, please do utilize this same Q&A box to submit your query, and we'll pass that all that we have time for to our host so that these questions can be addressed during a live webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar that we mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu that appears. And if you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. I'll now introduce Bria Ragin, who will introduce our panelists and moderate this discussion. Bria is an editor at Delacorte Press and Joy Revolution, both imprints of Random House children's books, where she can edit middle grade and young adult fiction, but primarily works on romances starring and authored by people of color. Her list of authors for Joy Revolution includes New York Times bestselling author Talia Hibbert, USA Today bestselling author Amalie Howard, and critically acclaimed author Justin A. Reynolds. Her growing list also includes many brilliant debut authors, all from marginalized backgrounds. Prior to joining the team in early 2021, she worked at HarperCollins for several years. Take it away, Bria.
Thank you, Maggie, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this Joy Revolution panel, and thank you, Booklist, for inviting me to moderate it. I'm so excited to be in conversation with the co-founders of this BIPOC YA romance imprint, Nicola and David Yoon, as well as two members of the Joy Revolution family, Amalie Howard and Justin A. Reynolds. Before I dive into the questions, I just want to take a few minutes to go over each of their impressive bios. Nicola Yoon is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Everything, Everything. The Sun is also a star, and Instructions for Dancing, and is a co-author of Blackout. She is a National Book Award finalist, a Michael L. Prince Honor Book winner, a Coretta Scott King New Talent Award winner, and the first Black woman to hit #1 on the New York Times Young Adult bestseller list. Two of her novels have been made into major motion pictures. Nicola grew up in Jamaica and in Brooklyn. David Yoon is the author of the New York Times bestseller Frankly in Love, a William C. Morris Award finalist, and an Asian Pacific American Award for Young Adult Literature Honor Book, as well as the author of the YA novel Super Fake Love Song and the adult thrillers Version Zero and City of Orange. He also drew the illustrations for his wife Nicola Yoon's Everything, Everything. David grew up in Orange County, California. Nicola and David now live in Los Angeles with their beautiful daughter. Amalie Howard is a USA Today bestselling, critically acclaimed author of several novels for teens and adults. ALA Booklist called her young adult historical romance Queen Bee a true diamond of the first water. Her books have been featured in Entertainment Weekly, Cosmopolitan Magazine, Oprah Daily, and 17 Magazine. When she's not writing, she can usually be found reading, being the president of her one-woman Harley-Davidson motorcycle club, or power napping. Born in Trinidad, she now lives in Colorado with her family. And last but not least, Justin A. Reynolds. He always wanted to be a writer. Opposite of Always, his debut YA novel was an Indies Introduced Top 10 debut title in a school library journal Best Book of the Year, was translated into 19 languages, and is being developed for film by Paramount Players. His Marvel graphic novel debut, Miles Morales' Shockwaves, features Brooklyn's Spider-Man and was an ABA indie bestseller. Justin is also the co-founder of the CLE Reads Book Festival, a Cleveland book festival for middle grade and young adult writers. He happily hangs out in Northeastern Ohio. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
How are you all doing?
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Pretty good.
Ready to get into some questions?
Yes. Let's bring some joy.
Yes. So this first question is for the Yoons. The mission statement reads that Joy Revolution is a new imprint focused on love stories starring and authored by people of color, with the goal of curating a list of books focused not on the usual tales of pain and struggle, but on big love, books whose revolutionary act is to depict joy. What experiences in your lives help to shape this imprint's very specific and important mission?
Wow.
It all started when we met in writing school.
It all started when we were born. Well, I mean, first, hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. It's great to be here, and it's nice to see y'all. Well, Bria and Amelie's and Justin smiling, beautiful faces.
I can imagine you guys. Thanks, Booklist.
Thanks, Booklist, for having us. But it really did start, like, probably in our formative years, because we were both rom-com nerds and like romantic goobers. And then we met in graduate school and we like became friends.
In writing school.
Yeah.
And we talked about, art and poetry, and discovered that we're both rom-com goobers,
Yeah.
like Nikki said. And also we talked a lot about how like we're people who look like us, we're just never the heroes. We're always like the sidekick, like the sonograph technician.
And or
Or
the
the best friend.
the sassy sidekick who like everyone like tells their problems to, but like she has no possibility of like being the main love interest.
Or like, it's a boy, you're the father.
Sassy tech. So we had that in common, how much we love these stories, but also how much we were never the main characters in these stories.
It's always been a thing we wanted to promote, is get a love story starring people of color. We just didn't know how to do it. When we were writing and working our day jobs, we were like, do we start our own short story contest? Like, how does it work?
Do we pay
Yeah.
the winners out of our own pockets? And it wasn't until we like both grew up a little bit more, wrote some books,
Got published.
got some success,
yeah.
and then we were like, oh, maybe we could do this thing that we've been dreaming about doing, because we knew that these stories were out there and that these writers were out there, and also that people just wanted these stories, right? So
like lucky for us, we had the best ally and champion in the world in Barbara Marcus.
Right, at Random House Children's Books, and we pitched her the idea for an imprint of stories like big, transformative, transcendent love stories starring people of color. Right? I mean, people of color fall in love every day. I say this all the time and it feels dumb every time I say it, but like I literally fell in love every day in high school.
Yeah.
So I know that.
They also get to be goofy and quirky and make mistakes and just be human, and not wake up every day and be like, well, and think about the struggle, because that's not how we live our lives. If it were, we'd go crazy. And so there's the stories about the struggle, which are important, because if you forget about the struggle, that's bad.
Also, we live in America. I
Yeah.
mean, it's we are deeply flawed, trying to get better country.
Yeah, so those are important, but there's an entire rest of like a storytelling gamut that is just kind of sparsely populated. So we want to put more books in there.
So when you pick up a Joy Revolution book, it's joyful. It's the only heartbreak you're gonna get is because your love interest broke your heart, right?
Or they do something cringy.
Right. But there's not going to be anything sort of traumatic for you as a reader.
Mhm.
It's just love.
And you can all see why I applied for this job immediately back when it was announced. I wasn't even looking, but I was like, this is perfect for me. Like, this is why I got into publishing. Thank you so much, Nicola and David, for giving me this opportunity.
Can I just say our job interview with you was supposed to be a half hour and we wound up talking for close to 2 hours.
So we just mind melded with Bria. Like, we just like, it's hard to find people who like, have the exact same sort of philosophy and the thing they want to do in life. That's a hard thing. And Bria, wow, we knocked it out of the park.
Just got it right away.
We are here. So Joy Revolution's logo is a heart within a sturdy shelter. How does the logo symbolize the direction you're hoping to take YA romance?
We call it like the Flintstone house. It's like a slab house with a heart in the middle, kind of leaning against the wall. That's the shelter. It's a safe place. Readers can pick up a Joy Revolution book and rest assured that they can just relax and be swept away in a great story. That's about
Because
love.
yeah, just because as a Black woman, when I watch a movie, say, and like the Black character comes on screen, sometimes my first thought is, oh no, you're gonna die first.
And this is
something bad's gonna happen.
this is such a thing that there's a movie coming out calling that's the title is We Can't All Die First.
Right.
And it's a horror movie with an all-Black cast. And that's how much of a thing this is.
Yeah.
And it's the same for me. Like when I see an Asian character appear on the screen or in a book, I immediately tense up and I'm like, please don't screw this up. Don't have a super thick foreign accent. Don't like be all about kung fu. Like, and then half the time I'm like relieved. Mostly I'm not relieved. Mostly the dread
it's a disaster.
is warranted. So our books don't have that. I want to put a
Right.
snipe on the cover. This is like 100% dread-free reading experience, guaranteed.
So that's what the heart and the shelter is. Like, we want everyone to read these books, obviously, but especially if you're a person of color, if you pick this book up, you are not going to be like triggered. There's no dread in it. Those characters are not dying. No one's dying. So it's an aspirational love story. It's rom-com. It's like everything good about rom-coms.
To go into a little bit more detail, how do we determine what's joyful enough for the imprint? We've obviously had a number of conversations we've been figuring out along the way, but what's your take on it?
It's like a Marie Kondo kind of experience. You get a manuscript, we're like, does it spark joy? Is it revolutionary?
Well, the joy is the revolution, right?
Yeah.
It's just the vibe, right? You pick it up and I don't know, like when Harry Met Sally or Crazy Rich Asians, like those are great love stories, right?
And it's do you get swept away? Do you forget about everything and just enjoy like when I picked up Amelie's book, before I knew it, 100 pages had gone by. And I was like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And Justin, when I picked up House Party, I was like, I'm in a house party.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about anything else. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just having a really fun time getting to know the characters and not like second guessing them or questioning them, just getting to know them.
And also the love part, right? Like my favorite thing about rom-coms is watching the characters fall in love, right? And what they're falling in love with is each other's ideas of the world. And there's that spark, those old like sort of witty black and white rom-coms from back in the day. Like these are the books that we love and spark joy. These books have that. They have like a certainty to them, and the characters are just, they're sparky. So joy. Joy is hard to define, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah, I really think that our books are escapism at its finest. They're commercial, high concept, plot driven. Like we have had many conversations about like a really strong plot. Plot is basically like hooks us.
Has to happen. Oh my God. Please.
Yeah, I like. See, she knows all the words.
She does. She's like an editor or something.
I've been doing it for a little bit, but it's really important for us to like hit those notes. And so and we've been doing this. You guys announced this in October 2020, and I started January 2021. So since then, like what new things have you learned about the publishing process, and does it at all impact how you work now as authors?
Well, romance is kind of, I don't want to say exploded, but like because it's always been there, but I feel like it's grown so big in the popular consciousness and also in terms of like just credibility, because a lot of people like to poop all over romance, but romance is like, is it the best-selling category in books?
Yeah,
yeah,
it is. And also, whatever, people can poop all over it, but like romance and love is the thing that makes the world go round.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a thing that everyone wants. I say this all the time. The thing that everyone wants and everyone wants trying to get.
And we've been saying this for years. Like the reason you put your socks on in the morning, the reason you put on deodorant is because either you want to keep the love you have, or you want to get love. And there's a reason, like the Barnes and Noble redesign, the Storm redesign, they decided to put romance like in one of the most heavily trafficked areas in the store because they get it too. Colleen Hoover is being published in hardcover, which is a higher price point, and like people know that love is what people want to read about, and we're really psyched about that because that's all we want to talk about anyway.
Yeah, I mean, what else have we learned? I mean, we've learned a lot about the back end of publishing, which we did not know. How the sauce is made, like the design process, like choosing your designers and like going back and forth with like authors. I like to think that we bring the author perspective to things too, because like we know how it feels to get a letter or you know, to get like design concepts or that sort of thing. As for impact as on us as authors, I am really super good at compartmentalizing for some reason. Like that is my thing. So I do not like when I'm doing Dry Revolution, I'm doing Dry Revolution. When I'm writing, and
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
They
Like,
don't ever mix in my brain.
and we don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's been an honor, actually, to be honest. Like, there's so many high quality manuscripts out there to be read. And we're really interested in growing author careers, like long-term relationships. And so the fact that we actually get to work on that too is like, it's a real honor. I mean, don't tell anyone, but we do this for free.
And what's been your favorite part? I know for me, like aside from editing, design and looking at covers is my thing.
It's always the fun stuff, right? It's like the visuals. Yay.
You know what?
Talk the sales. I mean, but go ahead. Sorry.
My favorite is when you get a manuscript and you can see where it's gonna be. Like because you don't like, you know, obviously editing is a thing. Like my books are crap until my editor gets to them, right? Like editors make all the difference in the world. My favorite thing is when you get that first draft in or the first manuscript in. Don't send us first drafts. Just send us send us your fourth draft. But when you get that in, and you look at it and you go, oh, this has like all the potential in the world. Like you can see the end, like right away. Like you feel the author's confidence and like that there's a real story in there, and you know you can have a part of it. You like you know you can help shape it. Like that's the best thing. I love that. That's not gotten old.
There's that moment when it comes together.
Yeah.
You know, you edit a letter, and then you know sometimes it's the next draft that comes together. Sometimes it's later on down the line. But like when Amalie and Justin, when your books came together, it was like the clouds parted. And like, especially House Party, because it's so many different authors.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And when it finally gelled, I was like, this is a party. Like it's the biggest party of the year.
It feels like
bones.
magic.
Yeah.
It like feels like magic when so many people have to come together to make a book, right? Like the author is one part of it, and the publisher and the designers and all of that. And when it comes all together, you're like, did it. It's like
you know it. It just clicks. Like Amalie, your book just like I think yours was like second or third draft, it just like clicked. And we're like, we're good. Now it's just details.
Yeah.
Love that feeling.
I think it helps that Amalie and Justin are experts and you know in the industry and they just know how to hit the right points. But I will say that there is that moment where you're like, oh wait, this is amazing. How did we as a team, it's just amazing what we can do together, and like our ideas are just like really just like blending. And I feel like there was never in working on these two novels a point where we bumped heads or like it was just such a seamless process. And that's like what is so, I mean, always constructive criticism is always great, but it's also lovely when you know, you and the authors just really vibe well.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And I feel a little spoiled because it's not like we're putting out a ton of books, you know. We're really focusing our list and making sure that we put stuff out that we're 100% proud of. And we're doing that. And that feels great because then you can just be honestly gush about all your work.
And just be so proud, right? Like, and also, you know, we have all the jobs. Like, I don't want a crappy job. So this is a really good one.
One last question for you two before we zero in on Amalie and Justin, but what are some ways libraries and librarians can aid in the mission to help promote joyful books authored by people of color or authors from underrepresented communities?
Yeah, I mean, just support the books. Like it really is, it used to be, and I think this is less so now, but definitely when I was younger, you'd sort of have like the Black Voices section, and it was like sort of far in the back or whatever, and all the books were issue books. And I think that David has a similar experience. I do think that we probably still need some of those shelves because, as I say, we live in America. Our country is trying to, get its act together. But put the books in the general population as well, right? Like, these are great romances. Like, all of these books are fabulous books.
And I like to think that librarians, booksellers already know how to promote these books because you're already doing it.
Yeah.
So, in the case of Amalie's book, it's like, just sell the book. It's like this fantastic, opulent, Gossip Girl meets Bridgerton revenge story.
Swooning. Forget the love. Oh my God.
That'll make you swoon
Yeah.
and wish that you could be at these fantastic high society balls. And then in Justin's book, he's like, just sell it as just this wild, crazy party where everything is laid out. It's your last chance to lay it out to your crush or whoever, and really sell the emotion of these books, because that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
The identity stuff is also obviously very, very important to us, but it's nothing without the emotion.
Right, and the whole point is that people of color have all of these emotions, right? Like, all the books about race and issues are also important, but we also fall in love and do all the things. And so you can't split people into these, if I'm going to talk about Black people, I'm only going to talk about this. We're not splittable. We are all the things. I never wake up thinking about the struggle, almost never, right? I mean, obviously sometimes I do, but what I mostly wake up thinking about is David, and I beg him for coffee, and every morning he makes me coffee, right, first, and then our child climbs into bed with us for half an hour, and she's just unwakeable, she snuggles, and we try to kick her out, and she doesn't get kicked out for half an hour. And those are the first two things, and why I can't give up this. I have everything I really need and want, and I can't give that up for someone else's idea of what my life should be. So, people of color live in the world and we love. And so, just sell the books like that because it's true.
Yeah, just the emotion. And speaking of our daughter, she'll look at, a Netflix thumbnail like Beef, with Steve Yoon and Amalie Howard, and she'll be like, those two people look crazy. They look mad. And I'm like, yes, she's not thinking, oh, they're Asian American. She's just thinking, what's going on with these two really angry people? And so it's really leading with the emotion, and she's at a point where she sort of doesn't think about that stuff yet because she's 11. But that's what kind of we want to get to too. It's like a return to childhood where you just focus on the emotion of the stories.
Two things I always like to reiterate is one, we're not a monolith, and two, let's lead with love, right? Those are the main things I say whenever we talk about Joy Revolution. Is we're all individuals, and the romance comes first. Identity, as David said, is very important to our stories, but these are really just young adults falling in love as they should, and that's the most powerful feeling in the world when it's pure, when it's genuine. And so we want to focus on that versus the pain and the struggle. And just to know, but also know that we have a number of books by Black authors, and they're all different, right? Because we are not a monolith. No one loves the exact same way. No one's experience is identical. And that's the beauty of romance imprint, is the plot points that are going to be hit. But the difference is that everyone has their own unique experience. And so that's one thing that I always like to share. So now we're gonna switch to Amalie and Justin. Sorry, Nikki and Dave. Do you both just want to give a quick elevator pitch of your books, Queen Bee and House Party? Amalie, do you want to chime in first?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone. Thanks to Booklist. Also Nikki and David and Bria, best editor ever. Just had to throw that in there, So Queen Bee, I'm super excited about this book because it's pitched as an anti-historical young adult Regency novel that's Bridgerton meets The Count of Monte Cristo, in which a young lady is betrayed by her best friend over a boy and finds her reputation ruined. She's sent to Northern England to a girls' seminary for 3 years, where she hatches a Machiavellian plan for revenge. And then she returns to London as an heiress in disguise to take back the season that was stolen from her, only to find that old feelings for her crush are still there, and vengeance might not be so sweet after all. Oh, I reached the bottom of the elevator so fast, but yes.
Amazing. Fabulous.
I was getting the book, sorry.
Oh, yay.
I love that cover.
Awesome.
I feel like when
So
I'm doing
good.
like the elevator pitch, I need to do like Mr. Movie Phone. Remember that guy? And vengeance might not be so sweet after all.
And
Oh,
there
There you go.
yes.
There it is.
If you want to buy
Yay.
Queen Bee or pre-order House Party, which goes on sale 6/27, Booklist will follow up with links to it. Justin, do you want to?
Yes, yeah. So first of all, super excited because I just got like my finished copy of House Party and I'm so in love. I was like literally in tears when I saw it because not just is it like, was it an idea that I had during the pandemic in which like I realized just how much we all needed love and happiness and togetherness and just feeling very reminiscent for the time when we could just get together as friends or go to this random party and kind of feel the verve and the joy and the fun that like is kind of bouncing from party goer to party goer. And so House Party is all of like those famous teen movies into which a house party is prominently featured, like Can't Hardly Wait, 10 Things I Hate About You, where you have the kind of like that magical moment where everyone kind of comes together and everyone kind of has an objective or like a mission for the night. And whether it's like, I'm going to finally get the attention of the person I've been crushing on forever, or I'm going to finally like stand up for myself and say what I've been feeling, or I'm going to, even get my first kiss. So all of those things, you kind of come into it with all this expectation loaded into this one, like 4 or 5, 6 hour period. And it kind of means the world to you because it's the last chance for you to do the thing, for you to say the thing. And so House Party is myself and 9 other best-selling, critically acclaimed authors whose stories are interwoven. We all took an archetype. And so like mine is class clown. There's like an artist. There's the new kid. We even have, with the artists, we even have actual illustrations throughout the book, which is pretty cool. We got Jerry Craft come in and do some drawings there. So it's a very interwoven. The important thing, like when we were pitching it to pitching it Revolution, that I really wanted to emphasize was that I didn't want it to be an anthology. And so it's not an anthology. We've been calling it a novel in stories, and it really does feel that way. They're all interconnected, and you kind of bounce around the same way you do in a house party movie, where you're kind of bounding from character to character, and you're kind of following their trajectory as they move around the party, literally move around the house. And so we're so proud of what it became, and the covers are awesome, and it's a party that you definitely don't want to miss.
Oh, I wish I could have attended a party like this when I was 17. I think the cover is truly like a work of art. So Amalie, we call Queen Bee an anti-historical Regency romp and describe it as a cross between the Count of Monte Cristo and Bridgerton. What are your thoughts on labeling works of fiction as anti-historical, ahistorical, or alternate history?
This is a great question because I think like currently we're seeing 2 tracks for historical fiction, and I write both. On the one hand, you have books that are an authentic representation of history, which might not be so inclusive, but that's not to say that BIPOC people or LGBTQIA+ people didn't exist among the aristocracy. Catherine Duleep Singh was a Sikh princess and a queer woman of color who lived in Queen Victoria's court. So we were there, we existed. And on the other hand, you have period pieces like Shonda Rhimes' Bridgerton and Queen Bee, which are completely inclusive and offer an atypical view of the era. I think it's a choice here, creative choice. I wanted to see a brown girl in a ball gown on page and on screen. And I think seeing ourselves in books is a wonderful, very powerful experience. So whether it's anti-historical or ahistorical, inclusivity is the whole point here. And that's what Joy does. We never want to erase or sanitize history. And David kind of touched on this before, because the books that center these stories are so important. but also as a person of color, sometimes you just want to celebrate the joy in finding love and being loved while dancing a waltz in a glittering ballroom. So, I mean, I think there's two ways.
I love that. And yeah, I think everyone should have the choice. I think we felt comfortable going with the anti-historical Regency romp. It also just sounds sounds great. But, excuse me. Switching to House Party. Justin, as you mentioned, there are cast of characters. It varies immensely. How do you feel? How do you feel that this novel of interconnected stories differs from others in this space, or someone might call it an anthology? What would you say to that?
He's on mute.
Justin, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think Justin might be breaking up a little bit.
Bria, can you say the last part of your question again? My sound was kind of coming in and out.
Oh, I just said, how do you feel that this novel of interconnected stories differs from others in this space, or people who might call it an anthology, which is really not, but.
Yeah. Just, I mean, I think like first of all, it was honestly partly, I mean, I haven't said this, but it's partly like an excuse to get together with like 9 other amazing authors and be like, hey, can we just hang out on Zoom and like have like a writer's room and talk about how much we love stories. And so that was part of it. It was just the chance to kind of like also pick their brains and learn from them and like what like really kind of makes their stories go and see kind of the behind the scenes of these like amazing, very talented humans. And so I was super excited to work with them. And the thing is, like, I'll be honest, I've said it before, anthologies, and this is probably like bad because I've been in anthologies, but like I don't love anthologies because typically there's like a very, very loose like kind of overall theme of the anthologies. And it'll be like summertime. And then it'll just be like, your story will be about summertime. And then my story will be about a girl named Summer. And then the other person's story, and it's just like a weird like amalgam that doesn't always work for me. And then also I'll look at the cover of an anthology and I'll say, all right, there's 10 authors in here. I like 2 of these. I'm just gonna go to page 342 and read this like 15-page story. And then like, I'm good, right? I'm just following my favorite author. And there's nothing wrong with that approach. Anytime we can get more work from the people that we love, that's great. But what I wanted to do was make a story that felt seamless between the authors, almost so that you could almost not tell who was doing what. And so we all kind of it was such a collaborative process from beginning to end on making sure that we were able to not only kind of intersperse the stories in a way that made sense, much emphasis on like, can we have fun? Can we put more fun on the page? Can we put more love on the page? And we really wanted that to kind of pop throughout the story. We didn't want there to be a single segment where it felt like it was lagging in action or in fun or in love or in potential romance, because so many times in anthology, you kind of have this up and down of the stories. But here we wanted it to feel like you're just like, things are just getting wilder by the second. And so by the time you reach kind of the epic conclusion of the story, you're like, wow, this was one great night, one great story, rather than, wow, this was a nice collection of different stories coming together. And so, yeah, it was awesome to accomplish that. And some of these characters are amazing. Like I was sitting in awe a lot of times looking at the stories that would come in, and I'd say, wow, this is so, I need to make mine funnier. How is this person like so funny? So yeah, it was a great time for sure.
I feel like the chapters just like flow so well, and Justin is like one of the funniest people. So I don't know what he's talking about, but you nailed it. And next question: knowing that each character in House Party represents a different archetype of high schooler, like the class clown who you write about, the popular girl, the jock, or the emo band kid, who were you in high school? And I feel like everyone in the group can answer this question. I can say that I was probably the nerd. I'm just gonna put that out there. The goody two shoes, type A nerd.
I was the secret nerd class clown facing everybody.
I was absolutely the nerd. I was so shy, like it painful. Like I did not talk to anyone. No one talked to me. I was absolutely like the nerdiest girl. I read Harlequin romances all the time. I spoke to no one. I stayed in my room. Which archetype were you?
Archetype?
Yes, in high school.
Oh,
I know
nerd.
who you were.
I was like, I was a nerd, but like social nerd. So like I hung out with all the other
God,
nerds.
we're all similar.
That's why we
kinda
all
like-
work so well together.
Definitely class clown. I started a fake newsletter and just kind of threw them all over campus. And I started a fake school club.
He was popular.
I love
He
it.
was so popular. You
Sounds
wouldn't
like
have-
he was actually a popular kid.
He was popular. Like he would not have gone out with me at all
That's not true.
in high school. No way.
That's not-
It's just me and my, you know, in my all my AP classes studying was like, well, because that was me.
Me too.
Yeah.
But see, like even if that was you, like you and your AP classes, like studying, this would be perfect for you because this is literally what it's about, right? Like you spent your entire high school career like in the books and like focused and ready, and now you're like, man, like I the opportunity to tell my crush, this person who sat in front of me like in AP bio this whole time that I've been like had this secret crush on them. I'm going to just muster up the courage to do it today. And then like you get there and you're just like, wow, what am I thinking? Like, what am I thinking? Can I go through with this? And you're seeing all the kind of the hilarity happening around you. And like, as the night progresses, you're just like, okay, I'm going to see just the moment. This is it. Like I've been in a way, you almost been like every like book that you've been reading, every class you've been attending, all the stuff has kind of been leading to this one opportunity to finally do the thing and feel like, okay, I've done all I set out to do here in high school. Like it's accomplished.
So 17-year Bria would never go up to anyone. I would love to read about a nerd going up to him. Like, yes, fight for us nerds and love. But I feel you. Justin, if you could have written any other character in this story, who would it be?
Oh, wow. Huh. I think like I would have been drawn to probably like Randy's character, which is like the band kid, and not even or even Angeline's character, the theater kid, something like someone who was doing like the arts or something. I think that like the honest truth, the way that I kind of moved throughout high school was that I was kind of like attached to multiple groups. So like I played some sports, or I did some I did not play an instrument because my parents told me that I couldn't play an instrument, and then for some reason they allowed my sister to play violin. I'm not upset about that at all. I also took her to all her violin lessons. That's just a random little tidbit for everybody. So I basically supported her musical career. But myself, I think I would have probably been. I'm going to say theater is probably who I would have been, but I would have wanted to be the band kid because I think the band kids are just like cool, especially when you have your own band and you're just like walking around and like you're cool, like old t-shirts from like old tours, and you're just like walking around with like your case, and everyone's just like, wow, this now the party has started, like the real music has arrived. Like I would want to be that kid, writing love songs to everybody. Like that'd been great.
That does sound, well, you make it sound fun. I'm also not good at playing any type of instrument, but that sounds fun. Let's go back to Amalie and Queen Bee. Amalie, obviously you're this was not a question that I prepared, but I really wanted to ask you. You're obviously an expert at writing historical romance. How did you get into it? Why historical over contemporary?
I always love to read it. I know Nicola just mentioned earlier that you read Harlequin in high school. I did a lot. I'd hide them behind my textbooks, the novels I stole from my grandma. I've always loved reading them. So when I started writing them, I always call them the 5 J's, right? It's like Judith McNaught, Jude Devereaux, Julie Garwood, Joanna Lindsay, and Beverly Jenkins. She's a J, but still on the last day of J. And I grew up on those. So I knew that I wanted to try writing it. I actually got into it, writing it with a co-author at first, and then I went out on my own. But I just love that. Well, the thing I love about romance in general, it's just such a safe space, right? It celebrates love. It takes you on this journey, and you know you're going to get this happy ever after, or happy ever after for now at the end. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about romance for me. I like the historical because I like writing in the periods. Like I love the Regency period and I love the Victorian era. You know, there's a lot of constraints, social constraints around women, especially, you know, being considered property of their husbands. And I liked writing about women or girls who fight against that to get what they want.
I similarly, like, always grew up liking historical. I mean, I took an entire Jane Austen class in college, but like now seeing people who and reading about people who look like me in books, it's just like my mind is blown. I'm like, this is amazing. I wish I had this when I was younger. And I'm so glad that we can give teens today, and even you know, adults like me today, you know, these type of stories. So another fun question for the group, Queen Bee related, you know, these Regency characters are having a lot of fun. What would your dream date be? Flying in a hot air balloon, a midday boat ride, a night out dancing, or staying home playing games? What do you guys think?
Who's going first?
I'll go first. I'm going to say, because I'm greedy, I'm going to say I would want to first be staying at home playing games, and then realize that the person I've been playing with for like all this time is like the person of my dreams. We end up like going out in a meeting, and then we have a wild night of like dancing and like listening to our favorite music, and it's just like great. That would be like my combination of a perfect date night.
Love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I won the ballroom dancing. I won, you know, like I feel like partner dancing has died. Like all the traditions, I want all of that. Like I want to know the moves and like
sad, right?
the formality of it,
It's
and
kind
like
of flail in front of each other.
right, like the ritual of it. Like I want, like we took a ballroom dancing class for our wedding, and then we took one when I was researching my last young adult book.
Researching.
So we took like private lessons, and we learned like the tango and the bachata. It was awesome to like learn all that stuff, and we just like made it into a date night, like these weekly lessons, and it was great. I love that. So I would definitely go for the dance.
Can you ballroom dance on a balloon?
You can. It's big enough.
I don't know if everybody else wants you to. But you could. I don't know, like if anyone else in the air in the balloon would want that.
But, yeah. I might throw you off. I mean, it's just us.
Amalie, what about you?
You know, every time I hear what is the perfect date, I always think of that show, Miss Congeniality, where they ask her what is your perfect date? She says June 15th, because it's not too hot and not too cold. It's like, oh, it's cracking me up. Anyway, I think a hot air balloon is pretty special. High five to my hero, Keston, for this stroke of brilliance. Though I guess signing the injury waiver now in modern times would put a damper on things. If it were me, I'd pick a night out dancing also. I'm a very tactile person, and I love that connection, you know, that dancing might have. I'm going to be real honest here. I wasn't allowed to date in high school, so I spent a good portion of those years fantasizing and dreaming about slow dancing with someone special. So a waltz under the fairy lights of Vauxhall with the stars shining above with the person of my dreams. Yeah, all the swoons.
I love that.
What about you?
Well, I feel like I'm not a stay-at-home type of person. I am more like extroverted, so I'm going to go out dancing. I have rhythm, so I won't embarrass myself. But I'm not sure. Like, no one said a midday boat ride, and I'm like, I have been along the Seine, and I was like in France, and like that was fun. I really enjoyed that. So if anyone wants to take me to Paris, I'm single, you know, we're gonna go on another magical boat ride.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's romantic.
I know, it would be really well. I feel like a trip to like outside of the country on a magical boat ride is pretty romantic. So Nicola's gonna come back, but Dee, what are some other titles from Joy Revolution that, you know, we've worked on aside from Queen Bee and House Party that you guys are excited about?
Psyched for Sinner's Isle. which is pirates and witches and spicy, steamy romance.
It's our spiciest title.
Yeah. We have to actually ask her to tone down the spice a little bit.
We're like a little less spice.
We're like,
You Bet Your Heart by a debut Daniel Parker just came out this past week. And that's, sort of enemies to lovers, like academic rivals to lovers, like rival valedictorians.
and the banter really stood out in that one. We're just
It's so wholesome too.
Yeah.
My God, wholesomeness.
And then what else? There's Caught in a Bad Fomance, which is, I can only describe as like Seinfeldian in like its humor. It's just really funny, really fast. A lot of shenanigans.
Yeah.
And again, it's like two rival families competing at like, but it's really the two sons that are, and there's fake dating and they're enemies.
They're trying not to fall
It's
in
like-
love, but you know how it goes.
But the whole thing is hilarious. It's really funny.
But what have
What
we
else?
forgotten?
Who are we forgetting? It's like kids. Who are we forgetting?
Bria, who have we forgotten?
I just want to, as an editor, just plug in some things. It's like first, Caught in a Bad Fomance comes out this December from El Gonzalez Rose. You can pre-order it now. Sinner's Isles by debut author Angela Montoya. That comes out 10/31 of this year. Pre-order it now. Love the covers of both. Very fun. Very fun.
Add to cart.
What'd you say?
Add to cart.
Yeah, actually, please. I mean, we go and get underline.com and we have on our Door of Revolution page, we have all of our books listed and you should just go click order and pre-order for all of them. We do have it was announced a couple months ago, The Dividing Sky by Jill 2. That's a sci-fi fantasy romance, dual POV. I'm obsessed with dual POV. Sinner's Isle is also dual POV.
And we're so excited about our first sci-fi too, because you don't see a lot of sci-fi, especially sci-fi romances in YA in general, and certainly not with people of
With
color.
brown people, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's terrific. Like such good big ideas in that. So we're excited for that one too.
Yeah, I think it's 2:47 now. I don't know if we want to
Question.
We should do questions.
Q&A.
Let's see.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So here's one question. How often do you or will you add new titles to the list? So typically we publish 4 to 6 titles per year. Obviously it depends on like what comes in, but we're trying to do at least 2 per season. How are you finding the authors for your imprint? Do you guys want to?
They found me in a classified. It was like they were just like, I was just like, work needed. I was like, I would love to write a romance, and they're like, hey, and then they answered the ad. So I'm really happy to be here.
It's a series of meet cutes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the standard process, right? Like you
Yeah.
submit through your agent. It goes into Bria's inbox and then it goes into our inbox. And we read all week, and then we have acquisition meetings on Fridays. And so we like talk about the books and, like ones we want to acquire, ones we love but are not right for Joy Rev, ones we think have a lot of potential, and we want to talk with the author to make sure that they have the same vision that we do. So it's a lot of that.
We read a lot.
We read an insane amount.
You.
And it's fantastic because there's such a, like I said, the volume of high quality stuff written by people of color, starring people of color. It's inspiring.
And I will say that we have also found or acquired books from authors from revise and resubmit, meaning they've sent us, in a manuscript and it wasn't quite there, and then we've asked them to revise it and resubmit it. That's actually how Caught in a Bad Fomance ended up on our list. I mean, El Gonzalez Rose is funny. She's hilarious. We just wanted a stronger plot, and I think she nailed it. She took, our feedback and went away and came back and we're like, yeah, let's add it to the list.
Yeah, that's such a gratifying thing too, because we really do believe in authors and supporting their careers and like growing with them and staying with them, and not just like, it's not just about a book for us, it's about like a body of work. And so like when we like say, we love this, but it's not quite there yet, and then someone goes back and then knocks it out of the park and sends it back to us, it's so great because we can see like that this is an author that we can grow with and help to grow too and grow their audience.
Definitely. Another question, would you consider any young adult historical fiction novels that aren't a romance but have romance in it?
I mean, we're not so much about like the specific genre of the story. We're just about the joy, and most often joy comes from love, we believe. If there's a strong romance, awesome. And then if it happens to take place in a castle or in outer space or the depths of hell or whatever, then we'll read it.
Yeah,
sure.
we really do not care what the genre is. We do care that there is romance though,
Yeah.
and joy. So yeah, you can set it in space.
We definitely are.
I love it.
We are a romance.
Sorry?
No, I was just saying we are a romance imprint.
Yeah.
The romance has to be strong. I mean, we have received submissions where the romance wasn't strong enough, and like if we saw potential, we can always just push it. So that's definitely happened. I think there just has to be the first and foremost, it needs to be romance, but of course, the genre doesn't quite matter.
Yeah.
Is Joy Revolution going to be primarily YA? Right now,
Yeah.
yes, yes, right.
I mean, we do have like designs.
Yeah.
We have plans.
We
But
have our
yes, right
skunk
now.
works and R&D
Yeah.
department
Yeah.
in our towering glass skyscraper world headquarters.
It is. I was brought on to do YA. Like I'm always open to doing all things, but right now we are focused on YA. It is what I grew up reading and loving, and so I'm glad that I can edit in this space. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and we're starting in this space because we know it really well, and it's honestly kind of a weird experiment to just publish stories starring people of color featuring the full breadth of their humanity. It's weird to say that's experimental, but it kind of is. Thankfully, I think our experiment is panning out.
It turns out we were right.
Yeah. So
people want these stories. People write these stories. It turns out we were not wrong about this.
and it turns out that people care about the story first. They care about the emotion first, and that was our big gamble. And I'm just so happy that it's working out.
What is everyone in the process of learning to do? Oh, where is everyone in the process of learning to do better in their work?
Do better.
I'm always learning as an editor. Like I always have to grow. My managers, Wendy Loja and Beverly Horowitz at Delacorte, have been in the industry forever, and I appreciate their guidance and their feedback. I feel like that you should never stop learning in life, and I feel like even in the past 2 years, I feel like I've honed my skills as an editor. And it's with the help of the Yoons, just with the help of Amalie and Justin, and giving them, them giving me feedback and us having conversations and comments throughout the manuscript that's really helped me.
I just keep reading. I love to read, and I'll read anything and everything. Also smaller books, with smaller imprints or even some indie publications are excellent sources of craft. And I'll also go to conferences that teach craft. Not as much as I used to, but definitely I'm always trying to up my game.
Yeah, I'd say reading too is like first and foremost the way that I kind of refill the tank. And I'm like low-key competitive. And so reading work by like a lot of my favorite authors, I'm like, wow, how did they do this? What is it? What is this magic that I'm reading? Like, how can I kind of like imitate this and then try to put my own twist on it? And so just learning from my contemporaries. But I think also just like trying to push myself into like new territories and new genres, and not being kind of like a one-trick pony, but not being satisfied with where I am, just saying like, okay, what is it that I can do to kind of push my work to the next step, and being very mindful and kind of intentional about my writing process.
Yeah, I mean, for us, like just on the publishing side, like we didn't know anything. Like obviously we know story. We have a particular taste. But we didn't know anything about publishing, so we're learning a lot from Bria, from Wendy at Delacorte, just about how the rest of the house works. And then on the other side, I love what Justin said, like you really do want to push yourself. If I'm uncomfortable writing something, if I'm stretching, if I'm feeling like, I don't know if I can do this, that's how I know I'm supposed
That's
to
a
be
good
doing
feeling,
it,
yeah.
right? That's how you know that you're learning and growing.
You don't want to get too comfortable.
Yeah.
Exercise, stay off social media.
Stay off social
Stay off
media.
social media, also social media.
Run away.
But and on the publishing side, just communicate a lot, you know, like it's just as a team. And that's been a really good lesson for us. It's just like at every step of the process, just be really clear, be really honest.
Yeah, like transparent. And listen,
yeah.
you know what? It turns out you can be the good guys.
Mhm.
Like people talk about Succession, everyone's a bad guy. That's how you get rich and successful and blah, blah, blah. No,
we
you can
want-
actually be a good guy.
We
guys.
really we're obsessed with being the good guys.
Yeah, just be kind, be
Yeah.
honest, like leave the world better than you found it. My God.
And also the absolute pleasure of making the call, you know, of like your book is we'd love to publish your book. Like just sort of making the same dream come true that came true for us is like, I don't know, it's fantastic.
I feel like you guys ended on the perfect note. Like you always do that somehow. I don't know. I don't know. But thank you all for joining us and talking so candidly about Joy Rev books and like your writing and experiences. We have the covers of the books again, just as a reminder. Booklist is going to send a link for you to purchase these. If you would like to, please do let us know what you think.
Well, thank you so much, Bria, and thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists. And so in addition to that link, tomorrow all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, the title list, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit www.booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. ALA's annual conference is in our hometown of Chicago, and Booklist has tons of panels, award shows, and giveaways happening all weekend long. Join us on the graphic novel stage for 2 #ReadGraphic panels, author signings in our booth, including a Jerry Craft signing on Sunday, June 25th, and panels discussing book challenges, diversity and accessibility in audiobooks, and our new magazine, Booklist Reader. Stop by booth number 3729 for details, free swag, and more. We'll see you there. Recently, ALA's Office for Intellectual Freedom reported 1,269 demands to censor library books and resources in 2022, the highest number of attempted book bans since ALA began compiling data about censorship in libraries more than 20 years ago. Join Unite Against Book Bans campaign to help protect the freedom to read and empower readers everywhere. Visit uniteagainstbookbans.org for more information, resources, to donate, and more. And remember that you can utilize Booklist to support your library's collection development choices with reviews backed by the ALA. We have a special webinar subscription offer, and don't forget that your subscription dollars help ALA advocate on behalf of libraries, assisting those facing an unprecedented number of book challenges. Email us at info@booklistonline.com for more information. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and one more huge thank you to our author panelists and to our sponsor, Random House Children's Books and Joy Revolution. This concludes today's webinar, and we'll see you next time.